Why were they still using pagers? Simpler technology to manipulate than, say, smartphones. Cheap, and possibly why Hezbollah uses them aside from being less able to hack. Plentiful and probably easy to obtain as hand-me-downs off eBay, elsewhere. Easy if needed to clone and secretly replace with an identical, explosive-laden copy. Hezbollah recently stopped using cell phones when they realized how easy they are to track. They are mostly still used in hospitals and emergency response work, where you want to be able to communicate even if the grid goes down. Pagers use long-range radio, and thus are far more reliable than the relatively short range of microwaves used by cell phones. Since pagers receive but do not transmit, you can't locate their position. The pagers that exploded had apparently been acquired by Hezbollah after the group's leader ordered members in February to stop using cell phones, warning they could be tracked by Israeli intelligence apes. @news.com article 11 Hezbollah Israel exploding pagers 8800-938098164109599B6 F 124,461B. Pagers tend to be less easy to track than cell phones, so a paramilitary group like Hezbollah would see advantages in using them. Hospitals use them all the time. Pagers don't operate on the same frequency most hospital equipment does. Using them won't interfere with the equipment. From a technical standpoint, I'm really curious how they were engineered to explode. Was this a batch of pagers that got intercepted and weaponized? Because phones can be tracked or remotely hacked. Pagers cannot. Of course, that's not helpful if your pagers were rigged to explode from the start. How did Oct 7th happen when Mossad is one of the best intelligence agencies in the world? Well, their intelligence mostly relies on monitoring communications and watching physical movements. Old tech, including hand-delivering notes, are difficult to impossible to track. Many businesses still use fax machines because the data cannot really be intercepted. And to avoid detection of their movements, they use good old-fashioned holes and tunnels. Because cell phones are giant security risks, may as well paint a kill me sign on your back and carry around a microphone recording your every utterance straight to Mossad with a cell in your pocket. Same reason drug dealers use pagers. They do not emit a signal, they only receive a signal, so they are much harder to track than cell phones which are constantly broadcasting your activity. It's still fairly common for EMS crews in the United States to use pagers today. They are really simple, cheap and reliable. The batteries can literally last weeks. They can work off of a really weak signal and they are easily integrated into dispatch systems, so that as soon as the call goes out, the crew receives the page with the address, cross streets, and nature of the calls. It's kind of amazing how often smart technology fails during emergencies. I had no idea they are still made. They aren't still using pagers. They abandoned modern devices and started using pagers around Feb of this year's, cause the latter is way less prone to being taped and tracked. Pagers are a much more secure form of communication for illegal activity that's a lot harder to spy on than just about anything you can do over the phone or internet. Plus it removes the temptation to get complacent and sloppy and let something slip to your enemies who are spying on you. You can send people a code that by itself means blah blah blah, like go meet with this person face to face and have a private conversation, or just gives a signal and it won't give off where you are or stuff like that. Baltimore accent, it's all in the game. Because they didn't want to be under surveillance and phones are too easy to hack. Pagers are actually very reliable and are in use even in Western countries. Hospitals, for example, suffer from poor cell reception, but a pager just works. The medical and legal industry also still use fax machines because they are secure, since they transmit over a secure connection, unlike emails, which always hit a third-party server, maybe several.